So super excited to do this talk, and hope you guys are hearing me well. So let's try this. Today my topic is about hiring product managers, and I'm going to share my screen. Hope it works. And before I do that, I just want to come back to seeing you guys, and I have two questions for you. So, how many people in the audience actually are hiring product managers right now? So, how many are you looking to hire? All right. So I see at least two hands. Not sure, like I don't see probably the full audience, but there are at least a few people. And maybe we also have people who are looking for an opportunity in PM world. And maybe someone's looking. I saw someone in the comments of the group wrote that the guy think that he's looking for a PM position. Not sure if can people show up their hands, or are you guys afraid that someone will see you that you are looking for something new? All right. Oh, I see. Cool. So I think you guys can connect already. So there can be some use of this, at least some use of this talk. Let me jump into my presentation. Sorry. All right. So the title is How to Hire a Product Manager. And before I jump into my topic, I want to introduce myself briefly. So my name is Andrius. I'm currently Director of Product at Carousell in Singapore. And Carousell is mobile native classifieds marketplace, one of the world leading players in this field and the biggest in the Southeast Asian market. We currently operate in 7 markets and more than 17 cities, and we have more than 50 million listings, just to give you a sense of scale of the product. I joined Carousell only 4 months ago. Before that, I was head of product at Vinted, and I've spent 4 years in the company, helping to build that out from 18 people. I joined the company to around 200 at the time when I left. And part of my contribution was building product management team and the engineering team in the company. So went through a lot in that area, and I'm now kind of going through a very similar journey at that Carousell in a way. Before that, I've spent a few years in Eskimi, which is mobile social network operating mainly in Africa, also Lithuania-based company, and also co-founded 2 small media sites in Lithuania called F1LT and Carousell. And as Aurelia mentioned, I co-founded this whole movement that's currently called ProductTank Vilnius. So why you should listen to me? So during the last few years, I hired more than 10 PMs, and I'm currently hiring 5 more, and probably will be in the process of looking through more candidates. So just in the last 1.5 months, I looked through 150 candidates in the process of hiring these people. For a very long time, when hiring product managers, I operated in the same way as United States Supreme Court Justice Paul Stewart when he wanted to describe how does he define obscene pictures. So he basically said, I can't define it, but I see it when I see it. So that was kind of the way how I hired PMs in the first place. But as I needed to hire more of them, and especially this year, I had to come up with a structure and with more system in place in order to make sure that I hire the right people and I'm able to screen that many candidates that there are. And I hope that my experience can be useful both for other people who hire product managers and also for people who are seeking career in product management or who are seeking more senior roles in product management. So before I go into the process of how to actually go about hiring product managers and how do we do that in Carousell right now, I want to first of all share my understanding of what is product management, because product managers are different breed in different companies, and even in Carousell, product management and definition of product management is different from the way it was invented. So it all starts with the ownership of the product or the area of the product, where people eventually start to own either the whole product or part of the product in terms of the user journey, an opportunity area, or something that can define their ownership and their responsibility. Sometimes it's a function, so you can own the mobile product, for example, or you can own the B2B product, and so on. When this is established, you can start identifying opportunities, such as user problems or breakthrough areas by combining usually the three key input areas: users data, market and user research, and industry best practices. So ideally, the product manager should be able to do and combine all three, but most of the time people are usually good at one or two of them. Then it's about transforming those identified opportunities into actually validated solutions. And then when people are thinking about solutions as product managers at Carousell, they leverage all possible touch points, from all the technical possible touch points such as apps, website, or direct communication channels, email, push notifications, etc., to operational means. So how can we change how we do customer support, or how do we do marketplace operations, and other things if that is needed to solve the user problem, for example. Solutions are defined understanding that product managers and product teams responsible for user experience, end-to-end user experience, that actually starts when you learn about the product from a friend recommending it to you, and it actually ends with you being that friend who recommends the product to others. So you can understand that we expect PMs to impact all the possible areas that are not only visible on the screen or of your smartphone. The fourth important thing is prioritizing and leading the delivery of the solutions. So PMs are working together with engineering and with engineers with their team and other parties involved to make those validated solutions actually happen. It's important that in Carousell's case, PMs are not actually managing engineers on a day-to-day basis. That's where we have engineering managers whose role is relatively similar to Scrum Master role, in making sure that actually our delivery is correct in terms of the technical solution chosen, and it's also efficient in terms of the speed to market in that case. Product managers are also responsible on deciding whether the solution that are allowed for that identified problem or an area is actually a successful one, or is it a failure, through measuring, evaluating that, and communicating their decision to the whole company. And in the end, when people go through the whole cycle, they are able to come up with long-term vision and strategy. More senior PMs are defining the long-term outlook for their area that they're able to develop after accumulating learnings in there through problem solve and solutionship. So that's the definition of PM and the ownership and the role inside Carousell. I'm pretty sure that it's different in every company, and it's important that the hiring process is actually adapted to that. So in terms of the system in Carousell, we basically think about product manager and the skills of the product manager as a pyramid. So the base of the pyramid is execution and everything around that. So it's the basic set of skills that help you to deliver a change in the product and understand whether it's success or a failure. The next level going upwards is leading and being able to manage the people and influence the wider organization without the help of a lot of other people. And the highest level and the most senior level is inspiring others. Inspiring others usually without having direct authority, inspiring others through forming the vision around your area or around the whole product. And let me get a bit deeper into each of those areas and how do we actually test people in each of them. So first of all, it all starts with executing. So it's about technical skills, ideation, how do people do user research and things like that. And the big question was like, how do you actually interview a person to understand how good they are, how good is their experience, and all the basic skill set that are necessary for a product manager to survive in an organization like Carousell. So the way we do it most of the time is trying to understand the specific case that the candidate is most proud of in his previous experience. So if the candidate has launched some great improvement and search of the e-commerce product that he or she was working before, we try to go deeper into that change and understand it better. If the candidate does not have a very good case to analyze, we usually go into our own product. A lot of the time, we are in a very lucky position that the candidate is using our product. As 40% of Singapore residents that actually open a Carousell app at least once a month. So the way we try basing our discussion is going into that example of improving search in an e-commerce company. Let's name it like Carousell. So you were working on Carousell, you worked on search, and you achieved the breakthrough there. So that's what you're proud of. So the way we start to talk about that, we ask the question, how does the search actually work? So describe it. And this is a very wide question to ask, like the answers and the thinking behind the answer, and whatever person actually chooses to prioritize answering that says a lot about the person, because some of the people will go into technical details and will go through the whole technical process in general, that user types in something, but then that gets sent to the server, or maybe it's even pre-processed on the client side, and then on the server does this and this and this and this happens, and so on. Other people actually try talking about it from the user journey perspective. So the person opens the app, finds he has a different intent, and if his intent is this, he uses a search, and so on. So there are various different takes to answer that question. So first of all, the initial kind of response, let us judge on what are the instincts of the product manager. Is the product manager more user-oriented? Is the product manager more technical? And to really get the profile, and there's no wrong answer to that. Like there's just a lot of information coming from that answer. And if you want to test the product manager more from the technical point of view, you can always ask him deeper, even if the person has actually started to talk about the user journey and is focusing really more on the user side and not on the technical side of things. You can always ask more, you can always dig deeper and understand how much does the person actually understand, both from technical side, user side, or maybe even design side of things. The next part that we usually trying to understand better is how people actually came up with the decision to make that improvement that they are so proud of, or ask them when analyzing, for example, Carousell's case, how would they improve the search in Carousell? So how do they actually ideate on the spot, or how did they ideate it when coming up with that solution that they're proud of? We try to understand whether the person actually considered alternatives and what were the actual thought process, the actual process with working with users or with data or maybe with everything to actually decide what the idea is the first to go through. How did that winning idea actually came to life? So question, how did you improve it? How did you decide to improve it? And how did you prioritize those ideas? Open a lot of information around the experience of the person or the thought process when analyzing the hypothetical case. Then it's also important to understand what was actually necessary to deliver that idea to the user. So what was the team that the PM was working on to actually deliver that? And what was the involvement of the PM itself? So that question, again, can be analyzed both in the actual case and in the hypothetical case. And it adds a lot of understanding about the person and the abilities. And the last very important thing is understanding how did they measure the success. So a lot of people will just answer that, okay, we measured and we understood that the conversion from search improved by 20%. But the question here is like, what is the conversion from search? Like, how do you actually measure that? What is that conversion? So what do you divide by what? At what points do you measure? At what time? And how do you actually know that it increased by 20%? Did you try to isolate different factors because a lot of things change on the system? And how did you came out to that conclusion? So that shows the fidelity of the analytical understanding and thinking of the product manager. These set of questions, and you know, there are always more questions that you go into, but they give good understanding on the executional side of things. The very basics that PM needs for day-to-day operations to ship meaningful improvements to the product that bring the results in that. The other very important part is leadership. So here we try to evaluate it through sometimes going into the role play exercise of someone in the team taking the role of engineer and trying to place a different position than the product manager. It works especially well if we, for example, question the prioritization that the product manager actually used to choose whatever to build, and also to analyze the results of the certain feature. And we try to see what is the alternative position to be taken in terms of analyzing them. And that's where the engineer role in the discussion comes into place. That's where we try to understand how does the candidate actually solve this conflict that you often see in the organizations. And whether he goes into even deeper into the conflict, or is he or she actually able to come up to the conclusion that actually allows the team to move forward and achieve the result. The other important part is, especially when understanding the previous cases, is how did the person actually build the commitment inside the team to build the change. Because often the most meaningful and the most resultful changes come from not super short situations and not super short conclusions in the first place. And another part of the leadership also is very well displayed by asking the person the question like, what did he or she actually remove from the product? And how did she convince others that the step that they're taking was actually right? Because it's usually very hard to remove something from the product, and it takes a lot to get to there in reality. And the last point, especially when talking with more senior candidates, is how inspiring they can be for the team and for the whole company. Are they able to actually take the full leadership of the area that they can be responsible for? So that's where we continue the use case, that case study basically analysis, and asking the person, so if you have worked on search and if you achieved huge gains in search and you're very much proud of them, how do you think that search can evolve in the next 3 to 5 years? How do they think that search inside that product, for example, inside Carousell, could evolve in the next 5 years, and what are the technological and other trends that are ongoing that will shape that. This helps to understand how passionate the person is actually with the product, with the space. And it's actually okay if the person is not super passionate about the thing that he or she delivered in the previous company. But what is important is to identify what the person is actually passionate about. Is there an area that he or she is passionate about? Is there an area that the person is actually breathing with? And how does the person is actually keeping up the technology trends? So what is he or she reading? What does he or she think about these things? From my own experience, one of the very interesting questions in the interviews is asking the person what is the thing that he or she has a strong opinion about, but is controversial in the immediate circle of his friends or even the wider circle of the industry. And by the way, you can go into the deeper discussion about that. So some people may feel that self-driving cars are actually not coming in the next 5 years, and maybe it will take 50 years to get there. And with all the current hype around that, not a lot of people will agree with them. But they usually have very good arguments, and they're able to actually build a very good story about that and prove it in the conversation. So that's a very good exercise to understand what people are passionate about and how well can they put their own argument about that. And very quickly about the overall process that we usually use in the company to hire product managers. It's probably very similar and very simple to what everyone uses, but I still feel that it's probably convenient to share. So there's a lot of screening in place. As I shared earlier, to hire the 5 product managers that we are hiring, we are looking into more than 100 candidates, and the flow of candidates is huge. So there's a lot of work going on in the very initial stage to actually evaluate the candidate's experience and the possible culture fit of the candidate. Some of that can be offline review, often followed up by a quick call to judge the candidate. Here, the initial impression of the candidate is very important. So whatever is put in the resume, whatever is here around the candidate in the wider social network, what is what the candidate presents about himself in the cover letter and things like that actually decide whether the person goes forward or not. The second part is actually most of the time the most important one, which is the skills interview, a 1-hour session where we walk through a lot of the questions that I just shared with all of you. So it's all on the spot walkthrough of the case that the candidate is usually the most proud of, or analyzing a possible change in the product like Carousell or whatever the product that people are using most often. So we go ahead and we pick that kind of the change that the person has executed, the change that the person would like to execute step by step, and try to understand the skills of the person that way. If the person succeeds, they go into the what we call the product challenge stage, which is all about the take-home exercise to solve a specific user problem or a breakthrough opportunity that we see as a company, a real thing that we actually share with them and explain the process with the whole team in the follow-up presentation. So what we usually have is a 1-hour session where a person does around 20-minute presentation plus 20-minute QA around that presentation with the whole product team, which includes product managers and designers, and usually someone from the engineering team plus someone from the executive team quite often our CEO joining it and actually deciding on the candidate at that stage. On top of that, as a company, we also have a founders round where the person is also being interviewed by the founders in a dedicated way to understand the future potential, the culture fit, and the value fit with the company, and making actually the final call whether the person gets hired or not. And to end things and to end my presentation, I'd love to share a few tips for the candidates, because I believe there are probably at least a few of them in the audience. What I saw maybe from my experience when talking to people, and also in the way when I was looking for opportunities myself. So first and foremost, I think it's super important that the candidate actually invests time in understanding the product and the company that they're talking with, as it can make a huge difference in terms of understanding the person's commitment and actually going through the whole interview in an efficient manner. Some of that investment goes through the very initial stage. So if you apply to the company, like really spend time on the initial email or the cover letter to really make your case why you are the right person for that startup or a more mature company. Another thing which is very useful for all parties involved is ability to reflect and structure your thoughts on previous experiences improving the products. So you really need to go back to your history and understand, like, okay, what are the key things that I was actually able to deliver, and what of those things are actually worth sharing, and what of those things are actually able to share with all the confidentiality issues that could be raised around that. And the third thing is being able to actually relax, because there's a reason you were invited for that interview. There's a reason we are having this chat, because the company is really interested in you. So there's no need to be defensive. There is no need to actually worry about you being put in a bad position. Like, we are really interested and we are really positive about you. And it's a great thing to have this conversation. And I think it's also very important to be open-minded, and like the thing is that even if you're not going to make it, and probably the reality of most of the interviews is that your chance of success is probably around 10% of going forward. Is that if you are functioning during the interview and you're having all those discussions, there probably also a chance for you to take something out of that, either to prepare for any other interviews that you are going to have, or maybe to learn something new about the way others are doing product management. So I hope it was useful, and I want to thank you all. You can get in touch with me on LinkedIn and AngelList, or follow me on Twitter. And if everyone is interested in Carousell and want to hear more, I'm happy to share, and also happy to answer any questions that you may have regarding this.
Thank you, Andrius.
What is the differences between the product managers in Lithuania and in Singapore?
I think that's a very good question. I feel that they are pretty similar in a lot of ways. I think what may be a bit different in Singapore and the whole talent pool that is available for Carousell as the breadth of different companies that operate in the region. So there's a very kind of different fields of experience. There's a lot of gaming companies, for example, that that are operating in the region, like Arena, even King.com has a studio here, and so on. And for example, gaming companies can be a good source of people to hire to run monetization in the classifieds company, because the mechanics of the business are very similar. The other side is also that product managers here are usually more technical in nature, as a lot of them come from computer science background, and a lot of people have more experience on that side. And I think the other possible difference is also understanding the business part, and understanding the revenue side, and understanding some of the business metrics more than people in Lithuania. I feel that Lithuanian product managers often excel in actually being able to lead engineers and work with engineers, and also ability to form strategies around the things that they're working on better. So these, I would say, are the key differences when comparing the markets. But in that, both Singapore and Lithuania are small markets, and there's not a lot of product managers. The one thing in common is that it's hard to hire a product manager in Vilnius. It's also hard to hire a product manager in Singapore.
I've got one question. Hi, Andrius, great presentation. I hope ours will be not way worse than we will try as good as that. Okay, I want to ask, what's your opinion? What's the difference between product manager and project manager? They are both called PMs. You have what's the, yeah, thanks.
The key difference is that the product manager is actually the person whose key responsibility is coming up with what do we actually need to change, what do we need to build, what is the thing that will deliver the value to the user or to the business. And the key role of the product manager usually is actually delivering that. So that's how I would say is the key difference. And then from there are a lot more details in the process. At the same time, this is not the same in all the companies. So in a lot of the companies, you can go in and they can hire you as a product manager, but you can end up being a project manager. So if you're not the person who has actually a say and can own the decision of what are we actually building, then you're more like project manager than a product manager. And project management skills for a product manager are very much needed and useful, because then these are the things that help you to actually make the things that you come up with happen. I hope that answers your question.
Perfect, thanks.
I have a question. I'll go to the screen. So my question is, how do you confirm that something is a problem or a breakthrough in the area?
Yeah, so identifying the problem or the breakthrough opportunity, comes from three key sources. So one usual source is just constant interviewing of users and engaging with users. From there, you often see that the problems that can be obvious, and then you can quantify them through surveys or other means. So, for example, you can see in something in the user reviews that keep popping up. You can notice that with talking with users in either dedicated user interview sessions or with any random interactions that you have with the users. You can then validate that through the data, for example. So one of the obvious sources is also funnel analysis. So you go into the funnel, you understand what are the drop-off points, and you clearly see, the obvious problems. So for example, in the classifieds business and marketplaces, a lot of people list stuff. Not a lot of them actually sell stuff. So there's a clear user problem that a lot of people are actually inspired to start selling, but are not really successful in doing that. And you clearly see that from a very simple funnel analysis in a way. And some of the breakthrough opportunities often come by understanding technology trends or the way other products operate. So, for example, if you know Classifieds playbook, if you know stories from what other companies achieved through previous generational changes that you are currently going through, you also understand the monetization potential of those products. So this is also the source for you to validate whether this is actually viable or not, and prove it from that point of view. I hope it answers the question.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. So yes, thank you, Andrius. Thank you for staying so late for us. And
all right, thanks for having me.
see you next time in Lithuania, probably. And good night, yeah?
Yeah. All right. Thanks for having me. And